Hey everybody, happy Saturday. So glad you're here with me today, whether it's live or on the replay. This is an important topic for you all. Whether you just started a legal job, or you've been in it for a short time, or you're looking at going into the legal field. Knowing what your purpose is doesn't have to be 100%, nor does it have to be perfect. Over our lifetime so far, has everything been perfect? Not on your life. You've got to leave room for this to expand and contract and not be something that's in a box, okay? Because this particular career will morph, will change. As you grow and learn more, you will find out certain things about yourself. And you should question it, whether you're fulfilled or not. And your purpose is not only to fulfill you, but to serve a purpose, meaning, how are you going to help others? You can't give people advice as a paralegal because you're not licensed as an attorney. If you want to do that, then you need to go to law school. So understand what a paralegal really does. Number one is, will that be fulfilling to you? Okay, watch a lot of my videos here and watch videos on my YouTube channel called Paralegal Career Mastermind. All right, as you watch those and you take notes in your notebook, I would suggest you get a notebook, a dollar store, Dollar Tree notebook, and categorize those notes so that you can figure out, am I happy or am I feeling uptight when I'm researching this? Now, some of it will scare you. That's all right. That's okay. That's a little hurdle to jump over, or a big hurdle, or a mountain to climb. If you are supposed to be in this career, it's not that you will know before you jump in. I certainly didn't. A lot of us didn't, and still don't. You know, I mean, I know now, but when we're starting out, a lot of us had no idea, will I like this? Until we were in it. And then it turned out we needed to change up the area of law that we worked in, because there are hundreds of areas of law and subsets of that. So it may be that you're not cut out to do personal injury, but you're cut out to do bankruptcy law. So there are so many areas. That's why I tell you to research those areas of law. You go to my YouTube channel, you'll find several videos in a playlist just about different areas of law. So go put that effort in, do the work, because then you find out what lights your fire. Just because you've been through something in your life where you needed an attorney to work through a divorce or child custody or adoption or probate because a parent died, or, you know, different things, doesn't mean that that's the area of law you should be in. We're pulled to that because we think we can help people, but understand, you can't give advice to people. No matter what you've been through, you cannot advise them. You might have come over to this country as an immigrant like my grandparents did, but you cannot advise the clients what to do, because that's a licensed attorney who's allowed to do that, not us. So understand the rules and regulations that govern a paralegal and what we can and cannot do. Is that what lights your fire? Or do you want to be an attorney? You know, and you can be a paralegal first and work in an area of law that you're pulled to. But I want you to open your mind to other areas of law and research them. And I want you to put the work in to find out, what am I supposed to be doing? And step by step, it will be revealed to you. When you enter this field, it does not have to be where you know your purpose immediately and it must be perfect. Nothing is perfect. And if you're an A personality where things must be in a box and lined up at all times, that can be frustrating. You have to get looser and more flexible as to how your career is going to roll out. And give your career that freedom to roll out, to see, do I like this area of law or not? And when you put the work in and then you go work in that area, and by the work in, I mean the research, and then you learn what you're doing inside the law firm, and you know that inside out and backwards, and you have to have a meeting with yourself and say, am I happy doing this? Usually, our actions at home, how we feel while we're driving down the road, how we're reacting will tell a story. If you're angry all the time, you're probably not in an area that you should be in. You know, and it might not be the career itself. It could be you're not in the right area of law. I want you to really expand your mind to understand this. If your first job doesn't go well, it's not anything that's making you happy. It could be, yes, it could be the career itself, or it could be that area of law. And I want you to understand that's just the beginning, that first job. That's just tip of the iceberg. I've had many, many jobs. I've changed jobs many times and lived in 2 different states working as a paralegal. And some of you will work in far more, you know, you might be, this is a perfect job for somebody who's a military spouse, for instance. And if you have to travel, you can work in other states and take this job with you. You just have to study up on the laws of that state. Okay? So don't become inflexible as you discover who you are in this career. Don't expect perfection. Don't expect the career to be perfect. No career is. It's just one step at a time, one day, 1 week at a time, as you begin to see what you're destined to do. Will you give yourself that freedom to do that? Will you? I implore you to do that. That no matter what anybody says who may be feeding into you that you must stay in that job for 10 years, that's baloney. Okay? It's great if it happens. Okay? But that's not the norm. All right. So let's talk about, how do you tell if this career is in your purpose-filled life path? You know, you have a path, you have certain things you want to do. How do you tell? You don't tell until you get into it. And that's called trusting him. Okay? If he's drawn you to this career, there's a reason for it. And again, I know people who've got into it thinking, oh, I'm going to tell those people how it was for me when I went through the... You don't do that. You don't give them advice. You are warm to the clients and you try to help them in solving some issues, maybe about a hearing they have to go to, and giving them the documents they're supposed to have, and getting them coffee when they come in, and serving the client in all capacities, except giving advice. Okay? So the quest for finding our purpose is what most humans think about. Like, what am I supposed to be doing? Is this making me happy? Look, your career won't make you happy all the time. It just won't. It's the way it is. It's a ever-changing type of animal. You know, it's always morphing and changing. And sometimes you have to make that change. You're in control, of your career. All right. So, the question I want you to ask yourself is, why am I doing this? Write that in your notebook and answer it. Why am I doing this? And the second thing I want you to do is, I want you in your notebook or on the computer, and then print it out. Write out, it could be 2 sentences. It could be a whole page. It's up to you. What your purpose statement is. Why am I doing this? Why do I want to go down this path? Okay, you should know that before you step into this career or any career. Why, if you were going into nursing, why do you want to be a nurse? I have people in my family that became nurses. My father was a supermarket manager. It fit him. It fit him. My mother worked on the circuit boards, circuit wiring boards for the space shuttle. My grandparents owned an Italian deli that was handed down from my great-grandfather in Paterson, New Jersey. So there's entrepreneurship in the family. Why do we like that? Because then we don't have to work for anybody else. So what is driving you? It doesn't have to be a lifelong goal. The norm is that people have 5 careers in their lifetime. So be open, be flexible, that things may change down the road as far as what law firm you'll be with. And 2 years from that point A, point B, you'll be with a totally different law firm in a totally different area of law. Okay? Be fussy be demanding for yourself regarding having a relatively peaceful environment. I don't mean it's Zen-like. It will never be like that in a law firm. But that your coworkers and your attorneys, that it's pretty darn okay to be there. That it's not going to cause you to drink a bottle of Maalox at work, okay? Truthfully. That you're not going to develop an ulcer because of the stress. You deserve more than that. Okay, so line out your purpose. What do you want it to be as far as the type of work, type of law, what type of atmosphere? What do you want your coworkers to be like? What do you want the attorneys to be like? And I don't mean utopia. No, but nothing is 100% right. But bad behavior, screaming, totally unacceptable. Okay? Abusive verbal behaviors, totally unacceptable. Put those demands in your purpose statement. What is your purpose? Write that down. Keep that in front of you. Date it. Watch how that changes over the next 5 years. And for those of you newly into the legal field or in the legal field for quite a while, but most of you here are new to the legal field, start to think about this. Be open to change. You may, if your mantra is I hate change, you probably shouldn't be in the legal field. You have to adapt and be adaptable to the legal field, okay? There is change all the time. So 6 months down the road, or as you're doing something, you're researching something, does this align? Does this match up with your purpose that you've written down? What if you've written down you want to be in a certain area of law, but the job that opens up is a completely different area of law? Does that mean you're a failure? No, it means you're getting a foot in the door. Are you open to that? Are you open to taking a chance and just going into that for a while with the ultimate dream that you have of being in that area you finally want to get into? And it's funny, but as you go on, maybe that dream will change. So be open to that. Be flexible. Okay? So I would love to hear what your purpose is. We're going to talk about vision either tomorrow, or I don't know if I'll be able to do it Monday. It will probably, because I have to take my hubby to the doctor, but it will probably be Monday night if I do a video, and it'll be on your vision, okay? I don't think you'll be surprised to know, and for those who are not in the legal field, I mean, it's most adults aren't thinking about necessarily fulfilling their purpose, but God had a plan, and He has a plan and a path for you. It says so in Jeremiah 29:11. So understand that you'll be happiest when you're following your true purpose. You'll be fulfilled when you're following your true purpose. You'll know it when it happens, as if you've landed in this, not a cocoon, but you'll just know it. And there's no feeling like that. It's emotional. And it's not that you'll be 100% happy all the time. Things happen during the day in a law firm. Problems have to be solved. We are the major problem solvers in the law firm. It's not that the attorney doesn't solve problems. They do. The beautiful thing is working as a team to solve those. And when one gets all shook up over it, the other one can stay calm. That's a great team. Doesn't always happen, but that's that to me is a type of utopia. So I would love to hear what you think your purpose is, you know, and in going into this career. If you feel, you know, brave and you want to share it now while we're live, or post it later. I would love to hear, because it helps other people to hear yours as well. And it's interesting how different we feel our purpose is in life and what brought us to that place. You can line out your purpose statement and then look at the past. Don't dwell there, but look at the past. And were you following your purpose, or were you following what other people wanted you to be? I certainly was following what other people wanted me to be, my mom, you know, but that all helped in becoming a paralegal, definitely, because I had the skill sets, the office skills to go into this career. Had I not gone through that in high school and had jobs working in an office, I wouldn't have been able to get in, okay? So it can really play into helping you in the legal field, things you've been through in the past in other workplaces, and then you find out that things that you learned are so useful in the legal field. That's an awesome thing. But when I look back, it's interesting to think about what you thought you would be and where you've ended up, right? So look at your purpose statement. And then watch how it changes over 5 years. But keep that you put a date on it. Look at it 6 months from now or 3 months from now and go, am I on track to getting where I need to go? Am I doing what it takes to get to where I need to go? Hi, Destiny. Good to see you. Hope you're having a great Saturday, girl. And everybody here that's live with me. I love hearing from you guys. So I want you to really think about this. I don't want, what I find that people do is they Google the annual salary for paralegals and think that they're going to jump in and make 50K. That's not going to happen. You know, you have to sacrifice in the beginning, because the pay is not 50K, not even close. Don't ask me what the pay is. It varies from law firm to law firm, the size of the law firm, the city you live in, all of the variables, okay? So what you bring to the table is vitally important. What you learn ahead of time is vitally important, and you put the work in. And being a problem solver at the law firm means that as you're preparing to go in, that you stop negative self-talk, you stop this giving up mentality, you stop listening to the naysayers that say, what makes you think you can do that? I've had it all. But what I did was I kept it very quiet until I was already in the field, and didn't even talk about it for probably the first few months, because I wanted to see if I liked it or not. Hey, Destiny, I'm reading your comment. Destiny says, first time I bought your book on Kindle. Spring 2020 is my last semester in the paralegal program at CSEU. God is using you. You have a joyful weekend. Thanks, Destiny. God's going to use you in a great way. You watch, girl. You watch. And congratulations, you're in the home stretch. You're in the home stretch right now. So for those who are watching now and you are new to the, you're new, and most of the people here you're looking at this career not so seriously, or in the middle, or very seriously, whatever. People on this page have zero formal education other than high school. People are going for a certificate in paralegal studies. Other people are going in a 2-year program. All three types of people can enter the legal field. Do you understand? Whether you've been to school or not, you can get in the legal field. And all the other two were certificate or 2-year degree. Understand that. Nothing is stopping you but you right here. What's between the ears, right? And your belief in yourself. I did not know what I was doing when I landed my first paralegal. It wasn't a paralegal job. It was legal assistant. Actually, it was legal receptionist, legal secretary, and all around errand runner. And I was a woman in my 30s. And here I am running errands. I had to, for lack of a better phrase, suck it up and do what I had to do to learn what I had to learn. And it paid off. It paid off. I was starting from scratch. I had run my own business before that. I had worked for a corporation that was just awful. And before that, I had my own plant nursery for 4 years. And I have owned my own restaurant. But I know when I start in something new, I'm starting at the entry level. Even if I'm bringing a lot to the table, I'm still starting out entry level. But then I can escalate that, the speed of which I grow, by how much I can absorb. Okay? And I would say you have to give yourself a year to 2 years to absorb everything you've got to understand about an area of law. That's only, when I started out, I worked in, I think it was 2 to 3 areas of law. So did I stay in those areas of law? No, I went to the second job and went into personal injury. And after that, I went into business law and probate and estate planning, and I can't even remember all of it. But it makes you well-rounded when you work in many different areas over the period of, say, 5 years. You may stay in the same law firm for 3 to 5 years, or you may change like I did after, 7 months. So leave that door open. Don't label yourself, oh my gosh, I'm a failure because I don't like this area of law. Don't do that. Don't do that. Remember these words, okay? And look back on your purpose statement. I would say, even if it's every month, am I on track? Am I staying on track? And write down every new thing you're learning, but keep a separate area in your notebook for all the new skills that you're accumulating, or what you already know, meaning typing. And do you already know how to file? What do you know how to do already? Why do I say that over and over again? Because I want you to be able to say and talk about this in an interview. Right? And before that, it's in your resume, and that's the first thing they see, right, in the cover letter. So keep your minds open and don't expect perfection. All right, but you've got to be an incredible sponge that soaks up everything, and track it in a notebook so that you can go back and look and go, oh yeah, I looked that up here. When you find something really important that you want to keep, bookmark it on your browser so that you know where to find that later on, okay? That's what we do as paralegals. We're documenting and saving nuggets that we find online. Yeah, great, Destiny. It's really important. I had to remind myself how much I had learned, and I couldn't necessarily share with a lot of people around me. I mean, my family. when I was changing a job, because to them that was failure, because they had been in jobs for 25 years and 30 years. But those days are gone. And this is a career you're building, and that you control. You're holding the reins as if you were horseback riding. You're holding the reins to this particular career as to how fast you learn, how much you make eventually. Don't think that the 50K thing, put that out of your mind for now. You know, give yourself a year to 2 years to absorb, and never stay any place where there is verbal abuse, screaming, bad behaviors. It is not worth a minute of your time. And if that means you leave and seek your fortune elsewhere, that's good, because you value who you are. You value your sanity. You value a good night's sleep, and you are way too special to put up with any of that. That's in any workplace. I had that. The worst job I ever had was not legal. It was in the corporate arena as a staffer. So I made up my mind I would never put up with that garbage again, and I have not. And boy, I run like the wind when I see that. And that comes down, for the most part, in doing the best interview that you can. Okay, and asking a lot of good questions. So if you're up for it, and I hope you'll join us next month on the 15th, the Paralegal Inner Circle class is open again. But before I say anything about that, go to the website, paralegalcoffeetalk.com. Get that list of 19 alternative paralegal careers. You'll see it at the top. Get that. Get the free chapter of my book, Legal Break-In, or you can go to the other area and get the whole book. It's up to you. But that chapter is very valuable. And the goals journal is there, or you can just use this. You know, use the notebook. So when I have topics I want to discuss with you all, I'm using my notebook to keep track of what I want to share with you. And that comes honestly from my paralegal background, okay, and documenting and researching and all that. Oh, cool, Destiny. Destiny says, I start my internship at Bela. Is that how they say it? I actually worked with a client in a law firm with that last name. I am starting a skill checkoff list. Great. The TOA, which everybody listening is Table of Authorities, Table of Contents, merging, trial binders. Yep. Build your typing speed to keep up with the work. And lots of great typing tests online that you can take. And some typing tests are harder than others. They change, like if you're moving your fingers on the main keyboard, the middle keyboard section, and you don't have to get off of that, your speed will be faster. But when you start, look at my hands, when you start moving your fingers and going up and down, then your speed will diminish a little bit. That's okay. They'll, you know, when you're doing a word like quotation, your hands are all over the keyboard doing that word. So they set up typing tests that can be hard or easy breezy. I would try them all. And they do vary like that. And I wouldn't give up. If you're typing, and I don't mean you, Destiny, but anybody listening, if you're typing 35 words a minute and you feel, oh my gosh, you said 60 words a minute. Well, look, when I was first typing, what did I type? I mean, when we first started, we're typing 8 words a minute. So, and when I was in high school, and I took 2 solid years of typing. But what does that mean? I did typing for 1 hour a day, 5 days a week, and it was basically typing tests. repetition. And once you repeat, you get faster and you become you work at becoming accurate. Try not to make more than 2 mistakes when you're typing. And if you make 9, then you'll try harder next time. You can't give up. It's more than a typing test. It's a test of you and not giving up for everybody listening. So typing tests can be found all over the internet. And do that to test yourself. And so in senior year of high school, we had to pull it all together, and then somebody dictated the document to us in class, and then it was like we were in a job, and then we had to type it up and turn it in and be graded. That is exactly what I would be doing in a job, and still do to this day, is that somebody dictated. Yeah, part of it is writing from scratch, and I do that too, but writing legal documents or writing letters from scratch on my own, because my attorneys know I can do that. But I also am given digital dictation files, and I do that. So it's really encompassing a lot of diverse skill sets and skills and software. And so the things that Destiny mentioned are what I've talked about in videos when it comes to your Microsoft Word skills. You want to be able to know your basic Microsoft Word and go to YouTube and get all that for free by a great teacher there. Find a good teacher. You don't need to pay for that class. Nobody cares, honestly, if you have a certificate in Microsoft Word. Not really. But when you put on your resume that you know advanced skills in Microsoft Word, you want to list those and what they are. Okay? And be prepared to talk about them if they ask about it in an interview. Okay? Well, Cherise, thanks for that question, but you need to watch a lot of my videos here and get my book, Legal Break-In, on Amazon to see what those basic skills are that you need, and get the free chapter of the book on my website, paralegalcoffeetalk.com, and put the work in and watch a lot of my videos on my YouTube channel, Paralegal Career Mastermind. Okay? Yeah. Yeah, the Destiny, in fact, Destiny said, I took your advice on using the ruler to proofread. Awesome advice. You know, if you don't use a straight edge on something like the edge of this paper right here, you can use this too. You can rip off a legal pad piece of paper if you lost your ruler or you can't find it or whatever, and you can use a straight edge of a piece of paper, or a not so much a file, a file folder, but a straight edge on a piece of paper, especially a legal pad that's 8.5 by 14. A lot of them are even 8.5 by 11. Will give you that thing to hold against your letter and come down. You cannot, let me say this, I've seen people rely on spell check only. That's ridiculous. Okay, spell check won't pick up whether it's grammatically correct in the letter or not. And I will say this always, the attorney did not go to 7 years of school to be your proofreader. Okay, so remember that. I've had people say to me, well, they should just mark it, and no, it's not for the attorney to be your secretary. So remember that. Okay, that's not how it is. That's not what they signed up for, and it's like getting a hold of that, letting it sink in right here. Yeah, that's my tough love for the moment. That I've had people say that to me that were new to the career, like, how dare they expect me to proofread? It's like, really, get a grip. That's what we do. We don't stand around with a law book talking about the law. I've seen commercials like that. That is beyond ridiculous. So we are administrative professionals. Boom. Yeah, the ruler is fantastic. Any straight edge. But Cherise, you have to go put the homework in. There's like 400 plus videos on my YouTube channel that, but I would take notes as you're watching everything. You're already in the field, and so, you know, but there are basic things you need to have, and also watch a lot of those videos. That's like gold. Okay, so that has helped a lot of people break in right from watching those videos. With, again, you can have no formal education, you can have a certificate, you can have a 2-year degree, you can come from another career and get in, but you've got to have office skills, because we're not in there to hold a law book open and pontificate over what, you know, rule whatever says, you know, the rules of discovery say. We may talk to the attorney about that and have a little, you know, moment of talking about it, or a long moment of talking about it, but understand that that's just part of what we do, whether it be research, but all those skills have to be at the base. All those office skills have to be our foundation, okay? Okay, Destiny says, I had 3 years of family law self-representation in my divorce. How can I use that as experience? I did all my orders and they were rewarded. Well, you mean awarded? That type of stuff you could put down on your resume, as far as know what area, you know, you might put a title, areas of law I am familiar with. You don't have to go into great detail. Okay, yeah. I love autocorrect. I got a new Android back a few months ago. That's the worst autocorrect on that thing. It's, you know, trying to type a message out and it's just really weird. So, you know, I'm not going to go into great detail in this video. It's just that when you put something down, like you're familiar with it, and then let's say you have never worked in law, right? You have to be ready to explain that stuff in an interview, okay? And you can put documents I have drafted, but there's so much more to it than that. And my suggestion is, Destiny, I wouldn't say with your last semester that you should take my class now. I think that's overwhelmed. But I think you should take it like the next time it's offered, because there's so much in there that teaches the new paralegal what to do that is very, very practical. Okay? So I would say do not take it now, because you're going to have a boatload of stuff to do the last semester. Okay? And yes, I am one that will say, don't take my class now. I've told other people the same thing, Destiny, that are currently in school. Cherise says, that's a great idea. I have my degree from 2009. I'm barely getting into the industry. I will definitely be checking out more videos. I do try to learn from some of the paralegals there. Let me see. They just don't have a ton of time. No, they don't. I try to tell people that, Cherise, they can't depend on that. They just don't have tons of time to teach. I do get my hands in transmittal letters and a few cool things like that. Yeah, it's what I try to tell people is that when they go into a law firm, no one sits you down in a room like they did in fast food and retail. And we had to watch safety videos. When I owned my restaurant, I learned so much by going and getting my food license through Tulsa County in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And that they are very tough on food establishments. And I had every inspector known to man in my restaurant. and I passed with flying colors because of what I learned. So in that course that's mandatory in order to work in the food industry. But we don't get that training in legal. And should it be different? Yes, it really should, but it's not. And a lot of the curriculums out there for legal don't teach the practical side and what to do from day one. They don't. And why is that? Because so many of the courses are taught by attorneys, and attorneys don't manage the cases like the paralegals do. So remember that, guys, okay? Let's see. Yeah, I think, Destiny, you're going to be, it's going to be enough for this semester, and then you'll be done. And usually I offer the class, 2 to 3 times per year. Last year I did it 4 times, but this year will not be that. 2 to 3 times per year, and it may only be 2. I'm not sure yet. So that's what I recommend. I don't recommend people double up, because what happens is you won't finish. And that's the most important thing, is that you take my course and get everything that you can out of it, and then boom, go. There's a lot that isn't taught in a regular curriculum. So, and I really fill in a lot of those gaps. But anyway, I want to make sure you guys have downloaded the 19 alternative paralegal careers list, because when I worked for my local association, when I worked for them, when I volunteered, I was asked, I used to design websites, and I was asked to do a new website for the association and do the newsletter, which I just love that stuff. So I did both. I got a call. We had a job board, and I got an email from NASCAR, because I live just 10 miles south of Daytona, and NASCAR has a paralegal. So you never know. Walmart has tons of paralegals in their Bentonville, Arkansas office, and or they used to. I'm sure they still do. So it's interesting the type of corporations that employ paralegals. But my caveat is this: you always want to make sure that you have an attorney that you can go to. Some corporations think they can hire a paralegal, and they don't even understand what a paralegal does. But we can't act like an attorney. We usually have an attorney we report to. So if the attorney is not in the corporation, then hopefully it's somebody that they've hired that has an office nearby, and you can be in contact with questions. Don't bite on that type of job offer where you're going to be the paralegal, but there's no attorney to oversee your work. Ooh, red flag, red flag. Remember that, okay? No, Destiny, I don't offer a course on that, but what I just mentioned in this, and believe me, I've dealt with bullies, and it was usually women younger than me. Yeah. And I don't give advice on dealing with bullies. I give advice on moving on and away from that. Because if it's a long-time employee and they've been allowed to act like that, that's bad news. That's really poor management by the law firm, and they don't have a handle on what's going on, and that is never good. Having owned my own businesses, yes, and having grown up in family businesses, which honestly, most everybody at our family business was, they were family members. But people can act up within the family. It's just that, would I stay? No. And my thing was, I never stayed where it was, whoa, hold on, guys. What do we do? That's cool. Hold on, guys. There we go. Well, Darcy, you got to do your homework. Darcy's asking, how do I get training on the civil documents specific to the office I'm working in? Trust, wills, corporation, real estate law. Hey, all that stuff is all over the internet. I teach quite a bit of that in my course as far as give you insight, into that. So you can consider that. But when it's specific to like a specific area of law, the world is your oyster online. That means go do your research. Google is your BFF. Okay, that's what all paralegals do when we have questions. And we, and this was before all this was available online, when the internet first opened up to everybody. One person put up a website that had a lot of forms on it, not necessarily what I needed at the time, but you can go look all over the place, okay, online, and find your favorite resource. Yeah, people, well, Charisse, people are just weird. I had, Charisse is saying, what people say they like one day, they don't like the next day. That's kind of psychotic, isn't it? And I had an attorney that felt that the grammar in a letter should be a certain way, and I knew it was grammatically incorrect, because English writing letters and documents is my forte, and that's what I'm good at, one of the things. And I mean, writing my book, you'll find grammatical errors in that. I wrote it just like I speak, as a girl from New Jersey. But when I write legal documents, it's going to be in, it's legalese. And when I write a letter, it's very formal, to a client or whatever, or to a doctor or whatever. But I had an attorney that would change up what he liked and what he didn't like in grammar and say, this, no, you can't put this in here, when I knew it was correct. I did not argue with him. He paid my salary, and I wasn't going to have a debate over that. I had to pick my battles. Picking my battles, because they're paying my paycheck and it isn't my business, it's theirs. And I had to roll with that. And it's mind-boggling when they change it up like that. But there's no solution to that. Yeah, well, my niece, who is a Florida girl, but she lives out of state now, worked for Marco Rubio at the house in Tallahassee at one point, and then she worked for the Department of Justice in DC for an internship, and I got to go out there to DC and kind of hang with her and my cousin, her mother, and then she moved into my house to do her last semester of law school in Tallahassee, and she got to see, and I was up there working as a paralegal, and she got to hear her auntie tell her that you have to show the staff the utmost respect, because they are driving that law firm, and they're the wheels that drive that law firm. And she understood, and she's such a kind person, very kind person, very sensitive person to the staff and all that. So she was, but she saw otherwise. She saw how other people, it's really an indication of a person's character, right? And not every attorney is like that. One attorney told me this, who was one of my favorite attorneys, and I didn't work for him directly, but he was the senior partner that worked together with me to track all our cases, and I suggested how we should track them and track our deadlines and all that, and he wasn't open to it at first, and then next day we talked about it more. He was very receptive to ideas that I had, and we changed things in the law firm. He told me that a lot of it, and being puffed up, ego stuff, it's really just a bluff for the insecurities that attorneys feel. Remember, there are a lot of jokes out there about attorneys, but we need them to defend us when troubles come our way, right? And sometimes there's just no choice but to hire an attorney. So, and fortunately or unfortunately, depending on the attorney. So, would I, and I've experienced someone screaming at me, but I didn't stay in that job. I want respect, and respect is a 180-degree thing. So respect towards me gets respect. I will be respectful always on the job, but I will not tolerate verbal abuse. And I have had discussions with attorneys, an attorney or two or three, where I said, can I talk to you for a moment? And then I didn't shut the door completely, given this climate that we're in with, you don't want to do that, but you want to leave the door open, and not that everybody needs to hear what you're talking about, but confronting the issue. If it's abusive, but if they go into denial and they're not, it's not a place that, when it's your first job, I felt that I was talked down to, but I had, I just had a way of asking the attorney, were you happy with the work I did? Was it okay? How can I be better? And they would say, oh yeah, it was fine. Rather than letting it boil up, I want to know. And I tracked everything I did. I dated my to-do sheets. I tell you this all the time, guys, that, and if they say they told you something when they didn't, it's really, you got to pick your battles. And I'm not going to stand there and debate over a lot of things like that are minimal to me. But if they're going to blame me for something that I did not do, I would say, pardon me, and not raise my voice, but I beg to differ. And I hold my ground. So it's harder in your first job, no doubt, because you feel very vulnerable. But as you get experience and you move on to maybe another law firm, but you're doing your homework beforehand and knowing the questions to ask in the interview, so you know the culture of the law firm. And that's one of the things I teach in my course, is that you need to protect yourself as much as you can. Does that mean that people can't put on an act in an interview? No, that goes for us too. They don't know what they're getting either until we join the law firm, right? So sometimes it's not a match, and that is simply okay, and you deserve the best, and don't you ever forget it. Anybody watching right now, okay? Destiny says, I experienced, I'm reading Cherise. Yeah, it's, she was saying that there was an attorney that screamed every day. Yeah, it's ridiculous. That's psychotic to me. And I'm not being funny. Okay. Destiny says, I experienced verbally abusive professors in my paralegal course. Ridiculous. Well, you know where that's coming from? And that's really stupid. But that's coming from law school, because that's how they were treated in law school. Some of the law professors that my niece had were ridiculous and demeaning. He had vodka in his water bottle. Well, I have to tell you that my dad, that I grew up with, was an alcoholic, and he carried around a root beer can, and in it was vodka, and he called it his root beer. So that is particularly humorous to me, that that's what the attorney was doing. And it's clear, so it can look like he's drinking water, and he's really getting loaded, right? That's a real problem, because my dad was right there, and he died of cirrhosis of the liver in 2008 from booze. And so from the time, my father was drinking from 8 years old. Yeah. So that's, you know, that's unfortunate. No matter what, the question we have to ask ourselves, is it the career that's bad or the people around us? And the thing in the corporate job, it was my managers, except for I had 4 managers. 3 of them were worthless and 1 was a stand-up kind of guy. And I learned what I should not put up with. And that nobody said that Leslie or you had to put up with that kind of behavior. And in the first job, I felt vulnerable. I wanted to prove something to myself, and I know a lot of you have that feeling. And I wanted to get through the first year. I made it to 7 months. And as I've said before, you can watch other videos of the reason why I left. Just from this week, I talked about it, so I won't redo that, rehash it. But it brought me into a law firm where then there was a screamer. And I didn't have that in the first law firm at all. But I decided that I would not stay there, and I went into a much better place in the third job. Does that happen a lot? No, it varies. So don't be fearful, but you have to do a bang-up interview to try to get the lay of the land as much as you can, okay? Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I've dropped a class or 2 along the way, so my GPA would be all right. But not because of that, because the teacher was flat out terrible. And I took a different type of class instead. But when I see people putting up with stuff, a lot of that relates to how we grew up, relates to our past. It could relate to we feel like a failure if we leave. I've had all those feelings. I wondered if I would survive when I left at 7 months, but I made sure I had a job to go to before I left. My dad gave me that advice years and years and years ago. So if you can do that, then you interview after hours, and it's hard to do that on your lunch hour, but after hours, if they're not open to interviewing after hours, then they're not worth going to. Most law firms understand that that's what you have to do. But if you can tough it out for a year, it looks so much better on your resume. But not if it's abusive. But that's a personal choice. I don't tell anybody to leave personally. You have to make that choice, because the bottom line is, what do you think about yourself? What's really going on up here that you would put up with that? I understand in the first job, but second, third, fourth jobs, to put up with that? No. That means there's a lack of understanding about the questions to ask in an interview. And sometimes those questions will really bring up the attitude of somebody, and that's what you want to see. When they're grilling somebody on the stand, when they're asking witnesses questions in the courtroom, they're trying to get a response, because that will take them into another area. Watching the emotion of somebody, that's exactly what we do as paralegal candidates in an interview. It's not that difficult, but you have to watch body language. Okay? Be a detective in the interview. This interview is not just about them interviewing you. It's about you interviewing them. Understand that. You're not there to just sit there like a lump, right? You're there to contribute, but in a nice way. You're grilling them, but in a nice way. And the things that you find out, okay? Yeah. So take all this to heart. I've talked long enough. The first job is this is like blast off. This is your takeoff into your career. It doesn't mean, for like getting a picture about your whole career, it doesn't mean it's the end of the journey. You're just starting out, and you're going to absorb like a sponge. When I say track everything you're learning, it's for a reason, because I can almost guarantee you're not going to be in that job for 10 years. You know, the question I ask of you is, do you really think that you're going to be rewarded with a $5,000 raise after a year? You're not. And you will make a lower salary. So how are you going to bump that up? Now watch my video on that on YouTube, on how I increased my paralegal salary. Don't get discouraged by that. That's the way it is. Just buy into that whole mindset that you won't be there more than likely forever. Now, if you're in a small town and there are no paralegal jobs, then you don't have a lot of choices, you know, and I've seen people move. I moved to a different state because I wanted to get in-state tuition in Florida for my daughters. Yeah, red flags are a red flag that I missed, and I share this all the time, is that 2 paralegals left at the same time, and I did not question that. I should have dug deeper in the interview and why they left, and I should have talked then to the office manager, who I did not interview with, but I should have. I lasted 4 hours there, and I understood why they left. And then I talked to the manager, and then I talked to the managing partner of the firm, that they were husband and wife. And they both said the attorney that they brought on is a real problem. So they were going to have people leaving all the time. Nobody would put up with that nonsense, or shouldn't. So these things do occur, but then when you do the proper interview, you're cutting out a lot of those potential issues as much as possible. It cannot be 100%. It won't be. And then you go from there. You know, it is what it is, but you can do the best you can in the interview and prepare for it. When I watch, I'll give you this, when I watch ads, and especially if you're not planning to go into the field, say until March or April, watch the job ads for 2 months. Watch for the repeat for the firm. See, I had a kind of a problem when before we were all on the internet, they would place the ads in the newspaper. But when you look at the newspaper, they do a blind post office box. And then you couldn't tell whose post office box it was, unless then when the internet came, I could research whose post office box it was. Sometimes that would come up on Google. And that was helpful. I want to know what law firm I'm going with. Are they continually placing ads for the same position? And if you see that, that's a red flag. And that's what you have to study. Okay? So that's it, guys, for today. Need to get back to the house. My hubby's still recuperating. Thanks for your comments, Destiny and Charisse. Really, really appreciated that. That will help a lot of people and is helping people today, because we've got people live right now. And so guys, watch, if you just came on like a tail end, watch the whole video, and post your comments on this afterwards. Okay, and if you have questions, I'll answer them if I can. And I wish you all the best, and have a beautiful weekend. Take some time for yourself. And oh, you're welcome, Destiny. Thank you both for your comments, Charisse and Destiny. I really appreciate that. And everybody being here live with me, and then anybody watching on replay, ask questions and join the group. If you're not in the legal field right now in any capacity, join Paralegal Break-In, but answer the questions. Otherwise, I don't click yes. So answer the questions I've posed before you can come in the group, okay? And but it's only for people who are not in the legal field right now, all right? So have a great day, and I'll talk to you more than likely Monday night if I'm up to it, after going to Orlando with my hubby, but definitely Tuesday. So we'll see what happens. All right, have a great one, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye.